Welcome to Scripts and Beyond with Dr. Hodge. I am your host, Dr. Hodge. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to get your weekly dose of health and wellness information and tips. Before we get started, I want to thank Jesus for this opportunity and platform to speak to you today. As always, it is my prayer that I say something, you learn something, and then begin to do something to improve your life and the lives of people around you. As always, all information shared on this show is for information purposes only. Be sure to consult your prescriber before starting, stopping, or making any changes to your medication regimen. Well, I want to dive in because we have a special guest this week. All the way from California, I would like to welcome Constance Carter, CEO and wealth advocate. Hello, Constance.
Hey, how you for having me, Dr. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here. We had the pleasure of meeting a few weeks ago, and we hit it off right away. And I asked her when I met her, I'm like, we have to do a show. We have to bridge this gap between finances and financial stress and health. And she immediately agreed. And so thank you again for coming on to the show. Yourself.
Well, like you said, I'm a wealth advocate. I am the broker and owner of Catalyst Real Estate Professionals. We're the largest African American owned residential real estate company in Northern California, and we have agents all over Northern California. We do that. I also am a best-selling author. I have several books. One is Teaching Score, What Treated on Make Your Credit Score Grow. That's a bestseller. I have another one called One. And that was more of a kind of an autobiography that I wrote with two of my friends. And that one, Overcoming Obstacles, Never Give Up, Have Your Best Year Ever. And then I have some training programs that I do. My mission and my purpose in life, really, Dr. Hodge, is to really help people from all walks of life to figure out how to become financially free, how to figure out how to become wealthy. Because I know that there's such a huge disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And because I've been able to attain a certain amount of wealth myself, I just want to give that information to everyday people. So that's my mission and my goal in life. That's what I do with my real estate business. We're speaking all over the country about the very same thing. That's who I am in a nutshell.
I love it. And I love the fact that you know that it's a responsibility to give back. And we know as believers that to whom much is given, much is required. And so we can't given much is required. And so we can't have things just come to us and not be willing to share it with others. So I appreciate that. And let me just personally say thank you for that. So this show is called Scripts and Beyond, and we understand that scripts, meaning short for prescriptions, is one area that we discuss. But the beyond part is the physical health, the mental health, and lifestyle changes. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the financial stresses that impacts one's health, and also how health, and when health is not, when you're not well, how that can create financial stress. So let's talk about some, if you don't mind. What have you seen as you've helped people all over this country, as you've helped them? What are some of the reasons that they find themselves in financial stress?
Well, a lot of people do not understand how to manage money, credit. A lot of people do not understand what they need to do in order to get in better positions. There is a lot of poverty, and I think what's happened is intergenerationally, we haven't been taught. We're not taught these things in school. We're not taught how to handle money. We're taught certain things that don't really apply to real life. And so there's such a huge opportunity because we don't have the information out there. And so some of the things that cause health issues or stress is just the unknown, not knowing. There's people living from paycheck to paycheck. And, that stress from not having, that lack of scarcity from not having, that definitely affects your level of stress. And, stress also affects other things, as you know, as being a doctor, affects other avenues in your life. I mean, it's just a domino effect. But it's really from a place of ignorance, I think, not ignorance in a bad way, but just not knowing
how to that cycle can continue. So we have financial stress, and that goes back to, like you said, not knowing how to manage money, how to plan. I want to talk about the planning of finances, and how when life happens, because we'll just use that as a umbrella term. When life happens, and life can happen on a smaller scale or a bigger scale for some, but when there's no plan in place, it can look like the biggest emergency of all, right? So you can, if you don't have a plan in place, you can get a flat tire and think, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't get to work. I can't pick up the kids from school. But if you have a plan in place, if you have those finances in place, then it's, you know what, I just need to get the car to the repair shop, get the new tire, and move on. So how you manage that comes from planning. Let's talk about the importance of creating that lifestyle where you don't have to juggle trying to keep up, right? Keep up and manage. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues, especially within the African American community, and I'm just going to speak frankly about that, is a lot of times we like to wear our money, or we like to spend as fast as it comes in. Everything goes out as fast as it comes in. And so we don't look beyond our current situation. We don't look beyond our current circumstances. And there's little things that you could do, Dr. Hodge. There's so many small things that you could do to kind of shift where you're putting extra money in your pocket. You're absolutely right. If something were to happen, then life falls from under you because you have not planned. And the rule of thumb in general is to have like 6 months of savings. So if something happens, say you lose your job or something else happens, then you're prepared for that. Just like you said, if you get a flat tire, but we don't, because we're so singularly focused. The reason why the wealth gap is so large in this country between the wealthy and the poor is because the reason why the wealth gap is so large in this country between the wealthy and the poor is because we don't look at having other alternative methods of income. You know, multiple streams of income. We prayed before this, so I know that you're a Christian. I know that you believe what the Bible says. The Bible says that we should have how many streams of income? We should have 7. We should not be relying on one singular stream of income. So whether that's, investing in stock, whether that's doing something extra on the side, whatever it is, we should be looking at different ways where we can bring in different money. And that's a way that we fail to plan, is because we're only focused on that one thing. So we're spending all of our money, and we're not looking at some things. I have a money management program. And one of the things that I found and some of the students that have gone through the program, some of the things that they've discovered is how they're spending little money on frivolous things that are adding up over the lifetime, over 3 months, 6 months. Students, they go to Target all the time. For no particular reason, just Target, just excess going to Target. And they didn't realize how much they were going to Target, $15 a month on extra stuff. I had another student that found out they were spending $3,000 a month on fast food.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yes. And this is just going to lunch, going to lunch every day, going out to dinner on the weekends, feeding the whole family, things like that. I feel they had a membership that they weren't using, right? So if you can identify little things, then you can save a ton of money. Then the other thing is they're paying so much in like interest. So in the program, I show you how you can like really cut back on thousands of dollars in interest that you pay. Oh my God! If you have a credit card, right? So you have a credit card, and the balance is $1,000, and it's like the average interest rate is about 24.99%. If you pay the minimum on that credit card, $25 a month, it's going to take you 68 months to pay the credit card off, and you're going to pay $1,800 of interest. Wow. But if I can show you how to pay it off in 6 months by paying enough in 6 months, you're only going to pay $41 in interest. People don't realize how much $1,800 as opposed to $4,100 that they're throwing away in interest on paying the minimum, just because they're paying minimum. People are overpaying in some of the things that they have everyday cable. You've got 150 channels, 300 channels, and you're only doing 4. There's so many other things out there that you could be doing. You could do Hulu. You could do, they have all kind of online streaming things for $9.99, $14.99 that you could be paying, and you're paying $300 and $400 for cable. So cutting back on those little things, that can put extra money in your pocket. Now you could take that money and you could save it in another account. I'd recommend saving in another investment vehicle. So putting in something that grows. I always talk about how to grow your money and not blow your money. And I really believe that there's simple things that you can do for very, very, very minimal amounts of money to invest to start growing your money. So the multiple streams of income, cutting the fat in some areas, cutting your interest, doing things like that, that can help you hugely when it comes to planning, when it comes to those emergencies, when it comes to being able to do different things. I don't want you to deprive yourself. I want you to be able to go on vacations because life is short.
Right.
You know, enjoy life. But we have to prioritize. And sometimes we don't do things because we're spending our money on things that don't even matter. We're spending our money on cable and extra interest and all these dumb things. And that could have been extra money that $79 that you're paying a month on the gym, or the $49 that you're paying for Six Flags, for a membership for Six Flags. We've seen that, right? People didn't know. For a membership for Six Flags, we've seen that, right? People didn't know, oh gosh, I'm still paying for season passes for Six Flags for the family. We ain't been in 3-4 years.
Right.
You're paying $49 a month for that. So, you know, all that extra money that you're paying out every month, you could be taking that because you could be investing in yourself, because it's important to invest in yourself. You can be investing in, you know, vacation. You can be investing in lifestyle. You can be investing in opportunities. So there's so many different ways that we can cut the fat so that we can plan, but those are just a few ways, Dr. Hodge.
Wow. You hit on a lot of points, and I love when you said, and I wrote down as you were speaking, priorities. It comes down to priorities and what we view as important, and really changing our perspective from short term to long term, and really realizing, as you said, life is short. So that trip you want to take, that family outing you want to have, is possible when you get things in place. But when that's that builds up, that anxiety, the woulda, coulda, shouldas began to come in to play, creating more anxiety, creating more sleepless nights, or as we say, headaches, migraines, blood pressure. All those things are affecting our health, and we look at it, and it's all tied back to money. It's all tied back to what we're putting our money into, or not putting our money into, right? So we're talking about planning, and I want to speak about, and I really want you to speak about what you've seen when people come to you, right? And they have been hit with life and those medical bills, and they don't have a plan in place to pay them. What's happening? What are you seeing? What are some of the trends you're seeing?
So medical bills. So let me just tell you, and I'm also a credit expert. So like I said, I have I'm also a credit expert. So like I said, I have a bestseller about credit. And so one of the things that I see very frequently are two things: student loans and medical bills. And those are the huge things that really affect people's pocketbooks because we don't have insurance. We don't have. We're just not protected in that way. And so there's you can make payments. The good thing about it is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, as of last October, they put a law in place, because one of the things that was happening was if you weren't paying your medical bills right away, so within 30 days they were sending you to collections, and they were turning it over to a collection agency. Well, now they have to give you a window of 6 months to pay it. So now you can pay it. If you're not insured, or if you are insured, you can work out with your insurance to take care of that in 6 months. The other thing is, once you pay it off, so say you're making monthly payments, they have to remove it from your credit report. So now those medical collections that were also affecting your credit things go to you in so many different ways. Now that you're able to really manage them, because of what was put into place. But there is hope, and so I see that all the time. People just will forget about the medical collections. They'll just let those things go because they feel overwhelmed. They feel like they can't knock them down. And you absolutely can. Well, number one, if you can, because we know that things happen, get the medical insurance. If you don't have insurance, try to get medical insurance. There's Medicare. I'm in California. There's Medi-Cal. If you're low income, there's things that you can do and things that you can get in order to be protected. Okay, so that's another part of the planning. We think, oh, we're healthy, nothing's ever going to happen to us, but we need to have something in place. That's an investment that we need to have. So instead of buying, subscribing to cable, $200-$300 for your cable bill, take that money and put it into medical insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Mm-hmm. The other thing is we need to have other types of insurance. Dr. Frazier says that African Americans spend more money on cell phone insurance than we spend on life insurance.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, that hit hard when he said that.
Right?
Yes, that hit hard. What I believe he said, most people have their phones covered, but don't have life insurance. And that's like, you care more about your phone and dropping your phone than about your life and the legacy you're going to leave behind, because we're all going to go, right? We know that. And we'll have our families scrambling, trying to get us in the ground, but our cell phones were covered. And he made that point. It was like, whoa.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
So we have to, it's another one of those priority things, and then, insurance. We're over here doing GoFundMe. It used to be chicken dinners and fish sales, fried fish sales, and car washes, and car washes. Mm-hmm. Now we've moved that to GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. We should not be relying on others, the efforts of others to bury our loved ones.
Absolutely.
It all goes back to planning, but it also goes back to prioritizing. Mm-hmm. And so that's sitting down and writing a plan. So it might seem overwhelming, but that's a simple step. Mm-hmm. Everything is. I have 5 steps setting goals, right? So, and it goes across the board. Mm-hmm. Everything, it goes across the board. So whatever you're doing. So if you want to set goals around your finances, if you want to set goals around your credit, if you want to set goals around your purpose, or whatever it is that you want to do, there's 5 steps to that. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get it in your mind, right? So you need to visualize what it is that you really want. Mm-hmm. So I want to be financially free. I want to have everything covered. I want to have whatever. So you have to visualize what it is, or dream or think. That's the first step. Think about what it is and where you want to be. And that could be in 6 months, that could be in 12 months, that could be in 2 years or whatever. Just put it in your mind, right? So you got to think about having a vision. What happens when my people lack a vision? Mm-hmm.
They perish.
They'll perish, right?
That's right.
So that's the first thing. You need to have a vision in your life of what it is you want, what it is you want. Mm-hmm. The second thing you need to do is you need to write it down.
Right.
Okay, so whatever your plan is, write down your plan. Write down everything that it is you want. Because the Bible says, write down the vision and do what?
And make it plain.
Yes.
Make it plain. Mm-hmm.
So write it down. That's in Habakkuk, right?
Right.
We got to write down. Think about it. We got to write it down and make it plain. And the third thing we should do is we should speak about those things. And I'm not talking about tell your friends. I'm talking about speaking as their affirmations. Mm-hmm. Because life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Right.
So if we're speaking, we're putting it out in the universe, we're putting it out in the air, and then something happens with the spoken word. Mm-hmm. There's power behind that. So that's what the Bible says also. And then the fourth step you have to do is you have to work it. So then after you've written the step you have to do is you have to work it. So then after you've written it down and you speak it, and you got to put those plans in place. Okay, I'm going to do this. You have your columns. You have it outlined what you're going to do. And you start executing that plan. So you work it. You work that thing. You embody it. Mm-hmm. You got to eat, sleep, drink it, whatever. Keep it on your mind and keep it in the forefront. Mm-hmm. Because if you do all those 4 things, the fifth step is manifestation. It's going to come into fruition. Mm-hmm. But it all goes back to planning. Mm-hmm. And planning goes back to setting those goals. So if you put those 5 things in place, there's nothing in the world you cannot do, Dr. Hodge. You can do anything you want to do. That's what I do all the time, every year. My goals, when I write them down, whatever it is I want to do, it's in my phone. Mm-hmm. Because I take my phone everywhere with me. I might go to the park and leave my kids at the park, but I will not leave my phone. So I have what it is I want right here in my phone every single day. And I always go back to that. Mm-hmm. And I speak those things. And that's how I'm able to accomplish what I'm able to accomplish, whatever it is in life I want to accomplish.
So you keep your goals in your hand. I love it. Keep it in your hand, right?
Always. Yes. It's always in my hand.
Yes.
This phone is always on my head or my purse. So
accessible. I wrote down changing the language because I think that is so, when you were speaking of affirmations, and you're right, it's not about what I'm going to do. It is, I am, ... So I am. So if you start speaking that, and then your mind starts to receive that, and that's how your mind interprets it. And so then that's how you begin to carry yourself. So it's a cycle. It really is a cycle. Changing your language.
Change the conversation.
Change the conversation. I love that. Change the conversation. You
Well,
mentioned.
you know,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
what people do often, and real quick, what people do is they say, what's the first thing they say when you talk about money? What do they say? I'm what? I'm broke.
I'm broke.
I ain't got no.
Yeah.
They're speaking that lifestyle, and they're going to maintain brokenness.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
going to maintain lack and
Mhm.
scarcity
Mhm.
because that's what they always say. That's
Yes.
what they're claiming over their life.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And that goes
the
back to
language
that
is
time.
good.
Yes. My aunt used to say that. I remember in college, I said, and it's so funny, you can have situations where they are imparted in your life forever. And I remember standing in her kitchen in West Lafayette, Indiana, and I told her, I was like, I'm broke. And the look she gave me, number one,
Yeah.
number one, but she said, no, sweetheart, you don't say that. You never say I'm broke. You may say I don't have it right now. You may say,
Right.
but you never say I'm broke. And I cringe. I literally cringe when people say, oh, I'm broke. I'm like, cringe when people say, oh, I'm broke. I'm like, oh, don't say that. Don't say that, because you're not broke. You're speaking that over your life. You're not broke. You may not have it right now, but you're not broke.
Right.
So you're right. Changing the language. And I learned that years ago. I've, been out of college for some time, but I still remember that look. And I cringe when people say I'm broke, or no, I'm poor. Oh, please, please get away from me with those words. Broke and poor. I don't want to hear them.
Continue to be poor and broke as long as you continue to speak those over your life.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Let's talk about the importance of instilling the knowledge in our children, because generations are coming up behind us who I love the commercial. I think it's with Microsoft, with Common, and he talks about, we have so much accessibility than generations before us, but what are we going to do with it? And so I speak about that now. Even with the knowledge, we've seen what it looks like to not have, but we also we've seen what it looks like to have. So how are we going to train our children? What would you say to that mother, that father, that aunt who's listening? What do we need to start doing now for our children so they don't have to experience, low credit scores and paying high interest rates and having the financial stress of trying to keep up and trying to maintain this lifestyle in the public's view, but in home suffering,
Right.
sleepless nights?
Yeah.
What do we need to start teaching?
Yeah. That is such a good question, because I have 4 babies.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I talk about my babies, I smile. I love them. They are God's gift to me.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter has 18 with an 815 credit score.
Wow.
Okay? I've already set her up to go out for sure that now if she goes out and mess up her credit, that's on her, but I've taught her those principles.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have to be intentional about how we treat our kids and what we teach our kids, and be advocates for them. Like, one of the things that I'm very adamant about is how you treat my children. I have 3 boys and a daughter, and I already know how some perceive them in the school system.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like there, and I'm like, hey, let's check this out here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you know right now, this is who my kids are, this is who their mama is, and if we have some problems, you come to me. And then the way they treat my children starts to change.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be an advocacy that we have for our children in the school system, because they have automatically. There's a book, I forget, Dr. What starts with a J, and he talks about how Black boys, especially Black boys, are treated differently within the school system, how they're treated more harshly. So we have to, they're going to school fighting up against things that they have no idea. So we have to make sure that we're advocates to support them in that. We're fighting up against things that they have no idea. So we have to make sure that we're advocates to support them in that way, to give them that self-esteem so that they are learning. Mm-hmm. The other thing is teaching them the importance of finances and good credit. Last year, I think it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago this month, I bought the Dr. Boyce Watkins stock program. Hey, if you take this stock program, I am going to invest $1,000 in you. It was like the parable of the talent. So my oldest daughter, she was like 16 at the time, and she was too busy on social media, and she didn't take it serious. Mm-hmm. My youngest, he wanted to do it. He was 9 at the time. He got the attention span of a gnat, so he didn't do it. But my 2 middle boys did it, and they were 12 and 10 at the time, I think, 12 and 10. And so, but my oldest son, who was 12 at the time, he ended up doing it. He's 13 now, and he was almost 12. he's 13 now. He'll be 14, so he was 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I invested $1,000 in him, and now,
Mm-hmm.
and I invested $1,000 in him, and now he has $8,000
Wow.
that he's made off of his stock investment.
Wow.
Because it was just a little seed like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an opportunity. I think the program was like $100-something.
Mm-hmm.
He could tell me what liquidity. He could tell me all these things about, about what stock means. And so I said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
here's $1,000. We opened up an Ameritrade account,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, you do your research. He started investing in like telecommunications
Mm-hmm.
and medical companies
Mm-hmm.
and all these different companies that were yielding him great returns.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be $1,000. Like, you may not have $1,000. You may have $50.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways you can start investing on behalf of your kids or with your kids.
Yes.
Teach them. Acorns.
Mm-hmm.
They can start investing their change in different things, but put them in the mindset right now to where they're doing things where they're having multiple revenue streams, where they're growing their money, where they're making money, and it's fun. My place is like, he's telling his friends, I got $8,000. I'm rich.
Right.
I invested in the program,
Mm-hmm.
and he took the program seriously. And so then he started doing that. And imagine, once he goes to college, he's in 8th grade right now,
Right.
how much money he's going to have. Hopefully he'll pay for his own college, because my daughter, she ain't got no scholarships, and I'm paying $40,000 out of pocket for her right now.
Wow.
So hopefully my other boy will go and be able to do something, whether it's scholarship or otherwise, to help offset that expense.
Right.
But I think it's so important that we do things like that. There's little things that we can do. And I know that people probably want to do things like that, but they just don't have the knowledge and the information. And so information, 100% free. I give it all the time. So I talk about this stuff on my Facebook page. I talk about this stuff on my YouTube page. And then I have training programs to really show you how to grow your money and manage your money, not let your money manage you, not let your situations manage you. I have credit programs that show you how to really help yourself to be able to increase your credit score,
Mm-hmm.
because that mindset, it's a
Yes.
whole holistic,
Mm-hmm.
because that mindset, it's a
Yes.
whole holistic mindset shift. And so I just want to help as many people as possible get in position, because you need those things. You need your credit in order to use the leverage other people's
Yes.
money, because most people don't use their own money.
That's
They
it.
use credit. Well, how do you start using credit? Then you
Yes.
have to have good credit.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's a whole cycle of things that I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just really want to help impart on people and show them and open those doors, because we need it. They've been closed to, especially us.
Yes.
They've been closed to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just opening the door and saying, hey, step in. These opportunities are available to you.
Awesome. I'm getting the what we call the engineer wave. He's like, your time is.
Oh my God! We've been talking for 30 minutes.
No, it goes so fast. Please, before we get cut off, please tell people how they can connect with you and follow you, Constance. Please tell them really quickly.
Yes, ma'am. You can follow me on Facebook. It's, my Facebook page is Nobody Works Harder. I have with each one of you. Nobody works harder than Constance Carter on Facebook.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I would love to have you back, because I know there are some other topics we can discuss that really will set people up for success, not only financially but physically and mentally. Have their wealth and their health, where their health is their wealth. So having that in order. So please, we'll connect here off air in a second, but I want to have you back on, because this has been such an amazing interview. And we're going to close out with your song, because you let me in on a little secret. So we're going to close out with your song, and then we will connect. And thank you so much for tuning in. And you all have a blessed week. But listen to this song by none other than Constance Carter.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.